90 seconds. That was the time remaining on the digital display of the ticking time bomb under the table. When Bumpy Johnson overturned the poker table and saw that metal box, filled with wires, glowing with red numbers, the 14 armed mobsters in the room reflexively touched their triggers. A hail of bullets was about to start. But Vito Genovese's double raised his hand. "Stop! Nobody shoot!" Because at that moment, everyone understood. Bumpy already knew. He knew everything. And the next 90 seconds would determine not only Bumpy Johnson's life, but the future of the entire New York underworld. No one thought Bumpy Johnson had been set up. But that night, in March 1956, in that small poker room in the middle of Manhattan, Bumpy proved something. It's not enough to see the trap. You have to know how to turn the trap into a weapon. This story isn't in the history books. Police reports say, explosion from gas leak. But Harlem knows. Harlem never forgot. That night, when Bumpy Johnson fought 14 mobsters with his 6 men, when the bomb was counting down, and when the explosion finally blew back on the enemy. Before continuing, write in the comments where you watched the video. Like the video among Bumpy's unbelievable stories. March 17th, 1956, 7:34 p.m. The story doesn't actually start here. To understand what happened at 10:47 p.m., you have to go back 6 hours, even 3 weeks. February 1956, Harlem, New York. If you had walked down 135th Street that year, you would have felt the electricity in the air. Tension, because a war was coming. Everyone knew it. The question was, who would fire first? Bumpy Johnson was 50 years old. He was born in Charleston, South Carolina, in 1905. He was 14 when he came to Harlem in 1919. 37 years later, he was the king of Harlem. The numbers racket, the illegal lottery system, was entirely under his control. $500,000 a week. But money was only half the story. The other half was respect. The people of Harlem loved Bumpy. Because Bumpy wasn't just a gangster. He was a protector. When a family couldn't pay their rent, Bumpy paid it. When the police harassed black businesses, Bumpy made a phone call and the harassment stopped. When the Italian Mafia tried to force their way into Harlem, Bumpy stopped them. And the Italians hated that. 5 families, Gambino, Lucchese, Colombo, Bonanno, Genovese, all wanted Harlem's numbers money. Throughout 1955, they all made offers to Bumpy. Frank Costello was diplomatic. Let's be partners. Carlo Gambino was colder. Take your cut. Stay out of it. Vito Genovese threatened, you either work with us or you stop working. Bumpy gave them all the same answer. Harlem isn't for sale. By early February 1956, Genovese had grown impatient. He was 59 and ambitious. Frank Costello was aging. Carlo Gambino was very cautious. But Genovese? He wanted power. And he knew the road to power ran through Harlem. February 3rd, 1956. Genovese gathered his men at his social club in Little Italy. 8 men, all capos or trusted enforcers. We need to solve the Bumpy Johnson problem, Genovese said, smoke from his cigar curling toward the ceiling. Everything we've tried so far has failed. What if we kill his men? Someone suggested. We tried that, Genovese replied. Last year we shot 3 of his men. Bumpy killed 6 of ours. What if we have the police arrest him? Half the New York police are on Bumpy's payroll, said another. Genovese slammed his fist on the table. The only way to kill Bumpy is to isolate him. Not kill him alone. Kill him with his men, all of them, at the same time. How? Enforcer Tony, the knife Accardo, asked. We call a meeting. Neutral ground. Manhattan. They lay down their weapons. Then Genovese brought his index finger to his temple, mimicking pulling the trigger. Boom. But will Bumpy come? Another asked. Won't he realize it's a trap? Genovese smiled. He'll realize it. But he'll come. Because Bumpy Johnson isn't afraid. And that's his weakness. Courage is sometimes suicide. On the night of February 8th, Bumpy Smalls was sitting in his office at Paradise. Junie Bird was with him. Junie was 64 years old, Bumpy's most loyal man since 1932. 2 friends, 2 brothers, 2 warriors. There was a knock at the door. A young courier entered. Hand-delivered message. Seal. Meyer Lansky. Bumpy opened the envelope. Read it. Vito Genovese wants a peace meeting. Location. Manhattan, the Royal Flush Poker Room. Date, March 17th. Time, 11 p.m. Conditions. Each side brings 6 men. Weapons stay at the door. I guarantee. Neutral ground. Maya. Junie read the letter. Then he looked at Bumpy. It's a trap. Yes, Bumpy replied. Then we're not going. Bumpy looked out the window onto 135th Street. Street lamps illuminated the snow. People were going home. Children were playing. His people. His street. We have to go. Why? Junie's voice was sharp. They'll try to kill you. I know. But if I don't go, Genovese will come to Harlem. There will be a war here. Children will die. Innocents will die. No, this war will be in Manhattan, in their house, by my rules. For the next 5 weeks, Bumpy prepared. First, he called Meyer Lansky. I accept the meeting, he said, but I have conditions. I'm bringing 6 men. Genovese will bring 6 men. The room will be empty. Just us. Guns at the door. Meyer relayed the message to Genovese. Genovese accepted. Of course he accepted, because Genovese already had 14 more men in his plan. Men who would hide in the hall. The doors would be locked. Bumpy and his 6 men would be trapped. Then, carnage. But there was something else Meyer Lansky didn't know. Genovese wouldn't be coming to the hall. He would send a double, because there would be a bomb in the hall. A timed bomb. It would start ticking when the meeting began. 3 minutes. Enough time for the decoy to find an excuse and leave. Then the room would blow up. March 10th. Bumpy gathered his men. 6 people sat in the back room of Small's Paradise. Junie Bird, Willie Fish Jackson, Quick Lewis, Illinois Gordon, Raymond Razor Cole, and young Marcus Tate. Bumpy spoke. There's a meeting with Genovese on March 17th. Manhattan. You know it's a trap. They all nodded. How many? Quick Lewis asked. Quick was fast. That's where his name came from. He was legendary with a knife. Seemingly calm, but deadly. At least 15, Bumpy replied. Maybe 20. The room will be surrounded. Genovese will let us in and lock the doors. Then it's slaughter. Willie Fish Jackson, 46, was small but tough. He always kept a grenade in his pocket. Then why are we going? He asked. Bumpy stood up. Because if we don't go, Genovese wins. He'll come to Harlem. There'll be a war here. Innocent people will die. No, these will be my rules. We're going. We're fighting. And we're teaching Genovese a lesson. You don't set a trap for Bumpy Johnson. Illinois Gordon, 6'5", 280 pounds, pure muscle. And the guns? He said in his deep voice. Bumpy smiled for the first time. We'll leave the guns at the door, but no one will dare search our bodies. Spare guns, knives, everything will be on us. March 17th, 1956, 7:34 p.m. Bumpy ate his last dinner at home with his wife Mamie. Mamie knew everything. Be careful, she said quietly. I always am, Bumpy replied. No, Mamie held his hand. This is different. I can feel it. Something special will happen tonight. Bumpy looked into his wife's eyes. They had been married for 15 years. I know, but I have to. For Harlem. It was 9:15 p.m. Bumpy and his 6 men met in 2 black Cadillacs on 125th Street. Everyone was armed. Bumpy carried a .45 pistol and a pocket knife. Junie Bird had 2 .38s and a straight knife. Willie Fish had a .45 and that famous hand grenade. Quick Lewis had his knife collection. In an arm holster, on his belt, in his boot. Illinois Gordon had a shotgun and his fists. Raymond Razor Cole had a razor. That's where his name came from. And a .38 caliber. Marcus Tate, the youngest, 23 years old, had 2 pistols and courage. Are you ready? Bumpy asked. They all nodded. They hit the road. 10:15 p.m. The cars were quiet as they drove from Harlem to Manhattan. Everyone was deep in thought. Quick Lewis was sharpening the knife in his hand. Willie Fish was checking his grenade. Marcus Tate, young and anxious, was rubbing his hands. Bumpy sat in the front seat. His eyes were on the road, but his mind was on the plan. Genovese would have filled the hall with men. The doors would be locked. Guns would be drawn. But Bumpy had an advantage. He knew the hall. He had played poker there 2 years ago. 2 entrances, 2 exits, narrow corridors. If a large attack came, the narrow corridors would neutralize the number of enemies. 20 men couldn't attack at once in a narrow corridor. But something was missing. Bumpy could feel it. Genovese wasn't stupid. He wouldn't just come with numbers. There would be something else. 10:38 p.m. They arrived in Manhattan. West 52nd Street was dark and quiet. The Royal Flush was tucked away in a low-rise building hidden between 2 nightclubs. From the outside, it looked like any ordinary place. But Bumpy saw silhouettes in the windows. 10, maybe 12 men. "Get ready," Bumpy said. They got out of the car. 6 men. Cold March air. Their breath was visible. They walked to the door. 10:47 p.m. A doorman greeted them inside. An old Italian, frail but with sharp eyes. "Mr. Johnson, welcome. May I have your weapons?" Bumpy took out his gun and handed it over. The others did the same, but none of them were truly unarmed. Junie had a spare .38 in his belt. Willie had a grenade in his pocket. Quick had his knife collection. Illinois had a switchblade on his wrist. Razor's razor. Marcus's mini revolver in his waist holster. The servant put the guns in a box. He didn't search their bodies. He didn't dare. Searching Bumpy Johnson's men was a death wish. They entered the main hall. What they saw: a large poker table in the center. A man sat at the head of the table. Vito Genovese. Or so it seemed. Gray hair, cold face, expensive suit. But Bumpy noticed immediately. The ears were wrong. The nose was slightly different. The hand movements were too tense. This wasn't Genovese. It was a double. And there were 14 more men in the hall, scattered along the walls, in the corners, by the doors, behind the stairs. All of them had bulges under their jackets. Guns. Bumpy stopped. The men behind him stopped too. The room was silent. The only sound was the ceiling fan turning. "Bumpy," the double smiled. His voice sounded like Genovese's. Good imitation. "Thanks for coming." Bumpy walked to the table. Slowly. Controlled. Every step calculated. He sat down in the chair opposite the double. His men stood behind him, backs to the wall, alert. "Vito." Bumpy bowed his head. A slight sneer. "What did you want to talk about?" The double lit a cigar. His hands were shaking. Bumpy noticed. This man was scared. "Harlem," the double began. "Business. The future. You know, we can work together. 5 families." Bumpy wasn't listening. His eyes scanned the room. 14 men. 2 by the doors. 2 at the kitchen entrance. 2 on the stairs. 8 against the walls, ready to draw their guns. Then he saw it. Under the table, next to the stuntman's feet. A small box. Metal. Wires coming out. And worst of all, a red digital display. 00010247. The seconds were ticking down. 000246. 000245. Bomb. Bumpy's face didn't change, but his heart raced. Now it all made sense. Genovese hadn't come to the hall because the hall was rigged to explode. The stuntman would find an excuse to leave. Bumpy and his men would stay inside. After the bomb went off, everyone would die. Bumpy, his men, and probably even the 14 mafiosi. Genovese didn't care, because if Bumpy was going to die, a few unfortunate Italian victims were acceptable. 000231. Bumpy made his plan. 3 options. 1. Act now, start a fight, bomb explodes, everyone dies. 2. Talk about the bomb, the decoy panics, detonates it early. 3. Knock over the table, grab the bomb, throw it outside. Option 3. But first, he had to test the double. "Vito," Bumpy said slowly, "I have a question for you." "Ask," the double replied. "Are you the real Vito Genovese?" The room tensed. All 14 men paid attention. A moment of panic flashed across the double's face. Then he laughed, forcibly. "What are you saying, Bumpy? Of course it's me." "No," Bumpy stood up. "It's not you. The real Vito Genovese has a knife scar on his left ear from the 1920s. You don't have one." The double froze. Bumpy slammed his fist on the table. One punch. The deck of cards flew into the air. Drinks spilled, and the table tipped over. The stuntman jumped up. The bomb hit the floor. The metal box made a loud clang. 0.0158. Red numbers flashed for everyone in the room to see. 000157. Bomb! Someone yelled. Then all hell broke loose. The first gunshot came from Genovese's men. Someone fired at Bumpy. It whistled. Bumpy had already crouched down, taking cover behind the table. Junie Bird pulled out his backup, 38, from his waistband, where it was thought to be hidden, and fired. 2 shots. 2 men fell. Willie Fish pulled out his bomb. Now, he yelled. No, Bumpy yelled back. The room can't collapse. We can't get out. Quick Lewis pulled out his knives. 2 knives, 1 in each hand. 3 men attacked him. Quick was a dancer. Spin, leap, slash. The first man was wounded in the throat, the second in the arm, the third in the chest. Illinois Gordon pulled out a pump-action shotgun. How he'd hidden it under his coat was unclear. He was such a big man. He fired. Boom! The sound echoed fire throughout the hall. 5 men tried to flee. Illinois fired again. 2 fell. 00127. Razor Cole drew his razor. Bright, sharp. 2 mobsters attacked him. Razor was quick. He cut one's wrist, slashed the other's face. The men screamed and retreated. Marcus Tate, young and fast, drew the revolver from his waist holster. A mini .22 caliber. Small but deadly at close range. 3 shots. 3 men fell. Idro, 0109. 6 men against 14. But Bumpy's men were better. They were raised on the streets of Harlem. Each one a fighter. They had learned to fight to survive. Genovese's men were different. They worked for the Italian Mafia, for money. But Bumpy's men fought for Bumpy, for loyalty. And loyalty is stronger than money. Pizzu 54. Bumpy picked up the bomb from the ground. The metal box was heavy. The wires were tangled. There was no shut-off mechanism. Or if there was, Bumpy didn't know. No way out, Junie shouted. The front door was locked. 2 mobsters blocked his way. The kitchen door was locked too. Ion Suro 41. Bumpy ran to the window, a large glass window. Outside, the street. And across the street, a black Lincoln, a silhouette in the back seat, wearing a hat, smoking a cigar. The real Vito Genovese, waiting for the explosion. 000037. The moment of decision. Bumpy opened the window. Cold air rushed in. He lifted the bomb. Heavy, maybe 10 pounds. The metal box flashed red. Bumpy, what are you doing? Willie yelled. Bumpy didn't answer. He pulled his arm back and threw it. Full force. Perfect shot. The bomb sliced through the air, flew out the window, sprayed glass shards, crossed the sidewalk, and landed squarely on the front hood of the Lincoln. Thunk. Inside the Lincoln, Genovese saw the bomb. The metal box was flashing red. His eyes widened. It had happened. He yelled at his driver, "Go! Go! Go! Now!" 017. The car started. The engine roared. It was 014, but the bomb was too close. On the hood. 0011. Bumpy pulled back from the window. "Down!" he yelled. His voice was above everything else. The men dove to the floor. Behind tables. Against walls. Genovese's remaining men didn't know what to do. Some tried to run. Some froze. Oro, Hova 5, Oro 4, Oro 103, Oro 102, Oro no boom! The blast wave shook the street. The Lincoln was torn apart. Metal and glass sprayed in every direction. Fire shot into the air. Yellow, orange, red. The heat wave shattered the salon window. Shards of glass scattered inside. Pictures fell from the walls. The ceiling shook. But the building was sturdy. It didn't collapse. He lay on the bumpy ground, his arms protecting his head. His ears were ringing. Everything was silent. Then, slowly, sounds returned. Moans, the crackling of fire, the sound of sirens in the distance. He got up. He checked his body. Glass cuts, on his right arm, on his face. But no serious injuries. He was standing. He checked on his men. Junie was sitting on the ground, holding his ear. "I'm deaf!" he yelled. Willie Fish seemed okay, but he was holding his chest. Blood on his chest. "Bullet," he said. "But I'm alive." Quick Lewis was standing, knives still in his hands. Illinois Gordon's mouth was bleeding, but he was standing. Razor Cole was okay. just a few cuts. Marcus Tate. Marcus was lying on the floor, motionless. "Marcus!" Bumpy ran over. He turned the young man over, blood on his shoulder. A bullet wound, but he was breathing. His eyes opened. "I'm still alive," he said with difficulty. Bumpy relaxed. He looked around the room. 11 of the 14 mobsters were on the floor. Some dead, some unconscious, some moaning. 3 had escaped through the back door before the explosion. He looked out the window. The Lincoln was engulfed in flames. The chassis was black. The wheels melted. But someone was lying on the sidewalk. He was moving. Vito Genovese. He had jumped out of the car in the last second before the explosion. Now he was on the sidewalk, holding his ears, bleeding, but alive. "We're getting out," Bumpy said. His voice was calm, always calm. They walked to the front door. The lock was broken from the shock of the explosion. They went outside. The street was chaos. People were fleeing. Cars were stopped. Fire was sweeping through. And in the middle, on the sidewalk, Vito Genovese was lying. Bumpy walked to him. Genovese saw him. Fear, anger, shock, all on his face. "You, how?" Genovese stammered. Bumpy crouched down. He lowered himself to Genovese's level. Their faces were 30 centimeters apart. "Next time you think about setting a trap for me," Bumpy said quietly, "use a bigger bomb. And never, never come to show off, because it takes more than that to kill Bumpy Johnson. You're not enough." He stood up. He walked away without looking back. His men followed him. Marcus was limping. Willie was wounded, but they were all walking. They were all alive. 2 Cadillacs were parked around the corner. They got in, and they headed back to Harlem. It was 11:52 p.m. When they arrived in Harlem, there were people on the streets. The news had spread. "Bumpy fought in Manhattan. The bomb went off. But Bumpy is alive." People cheered. The next morning, March 18th, the 5 families held an emergency meeting at Costello's Social Club. Frank Costello, Carlo Gambino, Tommy Lucchese, Joe Colombo, Joe Bonanno, and Vito Genovese, bandaged, wounded, ashamed. "What happened?" Costello asked. His voice was ice. Genovese couldn't answer. His head was bowed. Carlo Gambino spoke. "Genovese tried to kill Bumpy with a bomb. We lost 14 men, and Bumpy is alive. The message is clear. Don't touch Bumpy Johnson." "But Harlem," Genovese protested. "Harlem is Bumpy's," Costello interrupted. "Accept it. 14 men, a bomb, none of it worked. Enough is enough." And that day the 5 families agreed. Harlem was off limits. Bumpy Johnson was untouchable. That night's story became legendary. The bombed-out hall battle. People talked about it for 50 years. How Bumpy found the bomb. How he threw it. How he fought 14 men with just 6 of his own. And, most importantly, how Bumpy never panicked. Because that's real power. Not panic. Plan, not fear. Control, not trap. The ability to turn the trap around. Vito Genovese never attacked Bumpy again. He died in prison in 1969. Bumpy Johnson protected Harlem until 1968. He died of a heart attack at the Lenox Lounge at a corner table, cognac in hand. But that night, March 1956, the night the bomb flew at Genovese with 37 seconds left, Bumpy proved something. Power isn't in the bomb. It's in knowing how to use power. And those who set traps should learn. The trap set for Bumpy Johnson comes back around. Every time. Look, if this story got you excited, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? We share these Bumpy Johnson stories every day, and trust me, the next one is even crazier. Leave a comment. What would you have done in those 37 seconds? Would you throw the bomb or find another way? Don't forget to turn on notifications, because next week we'll tell the story of how Bumpy Johnson became the real king of Alcatraz prison. You won't want to miss it. Remember, respect wasn't given in Harlem, it was earned. And Bumpy Johnson earned it every day, in every fight, in every trap, every bomb count.